agenda workshop for March 27th.
All right, good evening, good morning. Good evening. It all runs together at some point in time. Did such a good job. Good morning, we'll start on C1. Hope everybody enjoyed. Sorry, go ahead.
Before we begin, I have something I need to mention. We have a conflict with the schedule for this meeting every month. On Tuesdays, Mrs. Studdard and I have Rotary at noon, and getting out at 11:30 is not working. We've been past that every month. So we need to find a common time that we all can work with. And I know you have an issue with dropping your children off, so we can move it to after and do it at 2 o'clock if that works. Or, could you make 9 o'clock maybe? And
right now I can. What if we did a different day?
we try a different day. Now, we also mentor on Mondays at 11:26 at Grove Park. So if we did it Monday, we'd have to do it, again in the afternoon.
Afternoons are fine.
Or start really early.
Yeah.
Wednesday cuts in with Republican Women, and Bitsy has early release on Wednesdays.
Afternoons get difficult, but I can make arrangements. He just doesn't drive.
Okay. And I think Thursdays and Fridays would make it too close to Mrs. Bush needing to release it. So anything that we discussed and changed would probably be an issue. Would Thursday work if we had our meeting? If we had our agenda workshop on a Thursday?
So we're talking the day
It would be exactly,
before.
yeah, see that,
1 week before and the
See,
day
how about
before you release it.
Monday afternoon?
I could do Monday afternoon.
You could do that.
Betsy, will that work?
Betsy, will Monday
Yeah,
afternoon?
I'll make arrangements.
What
And if I can't
What
find,
time?
So what time would be,
Let's see.
see, and we have, once summer comes, then, for
Yeah, that's what I'm
we can
saying.
move it
I
up
can-
during the summer,
Yeah.
but we mentor from 11:26 to like 11:55.
So 1 o'clock, is that bad?
So if we started at 1, would that,
yeah.
well, that interferes, you
What
can
about
make arrangements.
12:30
Most of the
or
time,
earlier?
I can
12:30 we
cover
can.
We can get there quick enough from
Why don't we
Grove
just
Park.
move
We've
it
done
up to
11,
9
we're
Move
for
it
good.
to
now?
9 on
And
Tuesday?
if it becomes an issue for
That
me,
would-
then we can
you
talk
don't
about
want us to
that
get a
then.
You sure?
But it should work for me.
We want to
At least through
accommodate
the summer.
everybody, I mean, we want to,
Yeah, no, I get that, and through the summer I know it will work.
Okay.
It's just.
So for the next 2 months, you're okay with moving Tuesday to 9?
Yeah.
Okay,
Talk faster.
all right.
So 9 a.m.?
So 9 a.m. on Tuesday, and then Ashley said she'll make arrangements
We have a goal.
for, we're gonna keep it in the morning. Yeah, Ashley said she's okay with keeping it on Tuesday. So if we start at 9, well, if we start at 9, we should be done by 11:30. Because we seem to be starting at 9:30 and finishing like 12,
Yeah.
so,
Does that give y'all enough time?
I've got 30 minutes to get back to it.
yeah, if we leave at 11:30, we can make the Holiday Inn by then.
So you want to make it 20, so.
So 9 o'clock on Tuesdays
Okay.
will be our agenda workshops from
Same day.
Thank you.
And then during
sorry.
the-
All right, no, it's good.
So that's
I'll-
okay with you?
Yes, great. I love,
Okay.
the morning works best for me, so we
So
can
that'll
do
be
something in the afternoon.
What day will the next one be?
April
25th or 25th.
There is a gold Land Rover with an alarm going off outside. Does anybody have that vehicle?
And then May
Rover.
30th,
Keep our eyes on it.
or May 23rd.
Attorneys have Land Rovers.
So it's two
Not
months.
sticking this one. Mike's got a minivan. Sorry.
Yeah, everybody knows you're driving minivan. I don't know why he's picking on you today. All right, sorry, let's get
Oh.
moving.
All right, good morning. Thank you for being here. We'll jump right into it. I'll try to protect time. C1 is just the minutes from our last board meeting. Yes, ma'am.
Jumping even before that, can I ask a request for the student showcase?
Okay.
Is there something that we can do to, if the student show, last month it was Argyle Elementary, and it was somewhat frustrating as people were coming in. It was a busy meeting, we knew there were gonna be a lot of people there, and the children were trying to play and sing, and there was lots of talking going on, over and above the music. And I thought, here we're inviting kids to come and showcase their
Yeah.
talents, and we're being rude as an
Yeah.
audience. And the only request that I have, is there something that we can maybe just do a piece of paper that says
I've
student
made
showcase.
I've
Thank
made
you.
two to put on
And I
the
just
doors.
wanted to bring it up because we're
Yeah.
also talking
5:45.
and
Says something
walking
like
around and
performance.
it's like,
I'm gonna tell you my feeling on this. We've moved the meetings from 7 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Now, all of a sudden, we're doing entertainment at 5:45. I don't think we need to start anything till 6 o'clock. I mean,
that'd be up to you. I was just trying to bring kids into it, and so many times that they don't get a chance to demonstrate their abilities and skill sets, and I think it's been nice. That's up to you whether or not.
look, I
Just
wanna start at
what-
5.
if
I
we do
love,
it
at 5:45.
I love the highlighting of the
I do
students, I
too.
really do.
But it
but I
was
also
just crazy,
appreciate-
people wandering around talking.
And there are times that citizens want to talk to us in person, and that's their only time that they
That's the
actually see
opportunity
us.
Before the
when we
meeting,
get there
before
before the
That-
meeting. And
Yeah, this is up to you. I'm always gonna put stuff in front of, for kids to do it, and if our meeting starts at 6 o'clock, I gave a 15-minute buffer for kids to demonstrate abilities. If you're saying that that's something that you do not want, you wanna get away from, then
Well,
that's,
how about we don't do it every meeting? We do it once a month.
Why can't we push
It
it
is
to
once a
6?
month.
And
Push it
have
at
the kids, have the kids start at the showcase at 6?
And have it actually part of our meeting.
Can I finish my suggestion? Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, if we have something on the doors that says showcase in progress, please be quiet or please be aware of showcase in progress. Hopefully that will give people, the public, the idea, and if someone wants to come up to you and talk to you, and they tap you, we're on this side, hopefully, not up at the dais during the showcase. We can stand up and go to the back of the room to talk with them.
But that would be rude though, if we're there to watch the kids, we're gonna get up while the kids are performing.
But if it solves both sides of it though, I mean, we can still hear the kids, we can still appreciate the kids,
Yeah.
but we can step back
Well,
away
it
from
should be
it.
a part of the meeting. The meeting should be called to order, and then do that if you want to start the meetings at 5:45. I mean, whatever. But it just seems kind of,
We can't change the time of the meeting because in our organizational, we've adopted a date and time.
Six.
We're starting at 6 p.m. So we decided to make that part of the meeting, and at 6 o'clock, we open up with our invocation, our pledge, and then a student showcase. We have to do it that way because in our policy,
Well,
which needs to be addressed anyway.
yes, ma'am.
this month, could we keep just doing it the way we're doing it? Because I want to be out of there at 8
Oh,
o'clock.
this is a big
I have
one.
front
She's
row
already
tickets
told
at
me no
Winona
talking.
At 8 o'clock, and if anybody
This is a light
long-winded
agenda.
this
I did it
night, I
intentionally.
am gonna be
It's a light.
going.
Long-winded.
I guarantee next month.
No.
She's looking at you,
Winona.
long-winded.
That's right.
Anybody long-winded is gonna be in trouble.
haven't done anything
I
this
mean,
month.
You know I'm not.
Hey, this one I can count on. This one I can count on.
Well, some of the time. So we'll leave it as
But
it is
anyway,
for
just-
this month.
just-
Well, let's try it.
Right.
We'll do the suggestion, recommendation.
And that, if nothing else, if that
Okay.
tones it
And
down, it
maybe
might
make
be
an
helpful.
announcement, because I
Don't make it
probably
later
won't.
this month.
I
Well,
don't think we
that's the
actually
other-
introduced them,
We
so
never introduced
how
them,
about
and we didn't say
when they
thank you to them
start,
when they were done.
I'll say,
Until the meeting
at this
started.
time we've got, so let me know who it is beforehand, what school, their band director, their course, their band director.
There we
And
go. Yeah.
we can say at this time, would everybody please, be quiet.
So what are we doing?
And we'll do that. So we'll
Or
start at
just announce
5:45
them
and we'll
and
announce
thank
who
them
they
when
are
we're
and
done.
and do that.
Sorry.
The other thing, since Mary brought it up, it just popped in my head. We've got the showcase and then we spotlight a school, which is great, but we do have a lot of things every month that we're going on and on. And for next month, for May, I know that we're gonna spotlight SEDNet, which is our mental health issues. And so I'm asking that we forego the school showcase and just have the one presentation so that we're not dragging these meetings out with 10 minutes on this one, 10 minutes on this one, 10 minutes on this. Because they are, the first 45 minutes of our meetings is, a lot of recognition and award, which is great.
And
But I think we've gone from none to overkill.
yeah, I would say that, we can make a recommendation. I don't know what SEDNet's going to present. Is it our partnership?
Well, SEDNet is one of the discretionary projects out of DOE that is housed here, and they're gonna talk about their work and the support of some of our most
That's fine for that
They
month.
do some fabulous things
Yep.
in our county along with 3 others. And our SEDNet program is recognized in the state of Florida
Right.
as a model that they're using
Sure.
to model others off of. So it's Mental Health Awareness Month for the month of
That's fine.
May. And so if we can eliminate the school showcase and just spotlight SEDNet, I think that's a good idea. Everybody okay with that?
So that would be the student showcase, we're gonna,
No, it'd be the school
The school-
showcase, so
school
said that
showcase.
School
was set in
showcase.
place of the school
We're
showcase.
gonna do SEDNet in place of,
For May.
for May. Yeah, that way we're not 10 minutes on one, 10 minutes on another, and then, and the other thing on this agenda, I appreciate you moving the scheduled citizens request up, but I think it should go before public comment, since Mr. Thurman actually emailed us 2 months ago to be on our agenda. I think the 10-minute one should be before green cards.
Let me ask something. Have you had a talk with Patrick Thurman?
I've responded to multiple emails from Mr. Thurman.
Okay, you might wanna talk to Frosty or somebody. He comes about every year and
Okay.
have Thurman
Yes, ma'am.
and bring you up to date on this
Okay.
Commander,
Sure.
General, whatever it is, Thurman.
Yep. So, Mr. Rossi,
You
you
might
want
get
to?
up to stuff on him.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sorry.
It's
Now
okay.
we got housekeeping out of the way.
It's all right. All right, so C1's just the minutes. Anybody have any questions on the minutes? C2 is the employee calendar. This is where we have some employees that are 11-month that will be, that are scheduled to work 3 days in the summer. 2 days, they'll have 2 days at 10-hour days and then 1 day at 3.75. So what we want to do is just collapse that to 3 days at 7.5 hours. So we don't have 10, 10, 3.75, and I think it's a better way, recommended by payroll, but it's also a better way to maximize time when people are here as well. So we're looking to just to change that from 3 days broken up to 3.7 tens to 7.5.
This is 10 month employees?
11 month.
11 month
Yes,
employees.
ma'am.
Is that,
And who does that, what positions are that?
I don't know, this is like school specialists.
Yeah.
This is like specialists mostly. So I mean, this is some, it could be assistant principals, some assistant principals could be specialists, and this is an opportunity for us to, whether we're writing curriculum, working together, looking at assessments, those types of things, so we can get more out of that day versus 3.75.
As long as their supervisors don't expect them to stay the
Absolutely.
tens that they're
Yeah.
staying. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no,
I
absolutely.
don't wanna ask people to work for free.
Yeah, no, I
Or,
agree.
or pressure them to.
And we, I mean, to be honest, we find it more productive to have 7.5 than a 10-hour day anyways. All right. Next one is C3 is our reading camp. This is to make an adjustment to our schedule. I know our original schedule, we put July 3rd was a day that students had to come, but we knew that that was going to be a Monday and then they would be off on Tuesday, so we're looking to back everything up and allow 3rd to be a part of the holiday and extend the window to the last day for students to be July 27th. It'd be a low day of attendance. C4 is our consent personnel agenda. Nothing major here. To my knowledge now we have. Any questions on that? C5 is, this is our Clay County Board, CEA, and CESPA bargaining teams. I've had conversations with Mrs. Lee and working with Ms. Dixon, Ms. Paiva, sorry, I call her Ms. Paiva, and Mrs. Dixon, and trying to determine if there's a different route that we can go for negotiating, because this does cost us $15,000 internally. But for now, we're going to keep the system the same in reference to the bargaining teams which we have identified. And if we come to an agreement where it can be done during the school day versus outside of hours, then we will adjust this and bring it back to the board.
That's really what it should be done, and honestly, the bargaining team, this should all fall under their job description. We shouldn't be paying anything. I year after year,
that was the question I was going to bring up. Why?
it
Oh,
should be
because we
limited.
go after hours, well, we're all professionals and we're professional contract.
I do
And if you're
not,
part
I
of the
mean,
bargaining team, that shouldn't.
I think this
me coming
definitely needs
in,
to be
this is
adjusted.
past practice, I do not
Yes, I
disagree.
understand.
Yeah,
Okay.
I will say, team does work hard, but if I can get it done there in the day, then we can maximize time.
Yes.
There's no reason
And
not to
money.
get it done during the
I
day.
agree.
I don't know why it was always waited, they waited till after hours.
Because there are teachers also that want to come to the bargaining meetings as well. And the only way that we can view the bargaining meetings is if they're after hours.
Right.
So there will need to be some
So-
time when the employees,
Yeah.
well, no. I mean, me as just a regular teacher, I'm a member
Oh,
of the union, I can come and watch the bargaining. I can observe it. It's a public meeting.
Yeah.
In,
Are
you
they
know, when the-
videotaped?
I don't know if they're videotaped. I know last year that I didn't
I
see
don't know if
anyone.
they're videotaped
No
or
one
not.
attended.
Probably
well,
could be,
things
should
were-
be.
in previous years.
Oh,
let me tell you that
yeah,
I have
never mind, I
sat in
gotcha.
many of those
I
bargaining
gotcha,
meetings just
I
to watch.
gotcha.
And to sit back and think, why? And during the actual discussion of the bargaining teams, the teachers are not privy to what our team, or what the union team
Sure.
is discussing.
Yeah.
They remove themselves into another room to
And,
discuss.
and,
But we're then there to sit back and look and see what was brought to the floor, et cetera. So there, I can see
Yeah.
where, I
maybe
just, I
and maybe
mean,
there's a
it's
strategy
like
we can
the
provide
teachers who are involved with
updates
this
of
don't get paid
conversations. I
extra.
don't know if that can happen. If we can provide daily updates of conversation, I don't know, or and send out, I don't know if that.
It is provided,
Okay.
Ms. Piper
Well, even
provides
if it
it
is
as well as
after
Ms.
hours,
Gibson.
I still don't think, no offense, Mr. Brodsky, I know you work hard, but I still don't think we should be paying our team. I think
That's
it should be part of
$15,000.
the job description. So I mean, the teacher side, they're not getting paid to go to these, they're not getting paid to bargain and negotiate. So I don't think we should be, I think it should be written in the job description of each employee that goes. And if it takes after hours, it's no different than a principal going to a basketball game and, chaperoning and supervising like they do at the high schools. I just don't think that this should be.
But it's not always the same principal, and it's not always the same assistant
Well, if you're a
principals
principal of
that
a
are
high
involved.
school and you've got, they
But I'm
divide
saying on the
everything up.
bargaining team, because it varies every year as to who's on that team,
Right,
so.
well, if they choose to be on it, and do we even need to have that many people on the team? I mean, what do you have, 6, 7, 5? We used to be even more, I remember last year, I think it was 7. You guys brought it to us because we boo-hooed it.
5, but then 2 ex officio members, the
Mhm.
superintendent and the finance director.
So I don't even know if it really
And
needs to
if
be
we
that
don't
many
pay them, maybe
people.
don't deal
Right.
with
It
it.
definitely needs attention, it needs
Yes,
to be
ma'am.
worked on. Anyway, sorry.
I agree.
So the recommendation is for it to sit as is, knowing that I would like to just to take it off and for us to do it without payment. And it may be, I'm trying to work with Mrs. Piva, and then I'll know more.
Ms. Piper.
I'm gonna call her whole concept, I'm sorry, intentionally. C6, anything else on that? Okay, C6 is just reappointments for 17-18. This is the placeholder for our PSC and our professional service contract and continuing contract and annual contract. This will not have the first year annual contract. That will not be until June, and that's where that will come. This list will be updated and is currently being worked on through HR. A date
Wednesday, it'll be loaded.
Wednesday, this information will be loaded for anyone to review. But this,
Wednesday, the day before the board meeting.
No, this
That is
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Sorry.
Any questions here? All right, C7, complete salary schedule. Just one adjustment was made on this document, which was one of the audits, we were out of compliance with performance pay for administrators. We use the same formula as teachers as a 1.0 for effective, and then 1.34 for highly effective, same ratio percentage. This year, it will go into the evaluation, however, we didn't give administrators raises, so it will not be into play. But we will have a formula that sits in our salary schedule.
That was my question. We have not given administrator raises for the last few years.
Right, I think 7.
And, I mean, same thing as the teachers.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you said that's going into play, that's going to be something we consider next year then? It's not in
I would
this
say
year,
when you
or It's still
compensate,
not going to happen this year?
this year it's a no. So moving forward, I would say it's very difficult to compensate certain bodies, only certain bodies in the organization. I think you should compensate every employee in the organization. That's all contingent on funding that we have. We know there's a priority to make it to make sure we compensate and incentivize teachers and support staff. But I believe this is no different than administrative leaders as well, because how do you retain? When surrounding counties are doing it, we're not, I think it creates angst.
Most definitely.
Yes, ma'am.
The other question that I have on that is, how in the past have you assigned raises based on administration? Are you going to be evaluating the administrators similarly to how they've been evaluated in the past?
Yeah, it will, this year, administrators will be evaluated the same as they have historically.
Okay.
We will look to rebuild the administrative evaluation this summer. So
Good.
more of a, you know, more accountability options, more self-reflection options, but at the same time, multiple times during a year they'll be evaluated. That way that there's never a question of where they are professionally, and we'll always have opportunities and avenues to support them.
Do we have a job description for a position called allocations and accounting assistant?
Allocations, and I think that went last board meeting. Last board meeting. The other document on the 16-17 salary schedule is, it's not in changes in here, but I will say that this may come back to each of you, because I want to look at admin travel, and there's some, and I say admin travel, there's a lot of money being paid for individuals to go left and right to here and there for travel, and I just want to work with staff to do an audit of who's getting paid for travel, why are they getting paid for travel, is that aligned to their job description, to make certain that we're accurate. We'll spend a lot of money.
Do we actually have a travel policy? Because I couldn't find one that was anywhere reflective of what I have seen as a travel policy in the corporate world. And a travel policy is a very good thing that from an insurance aspect you can fall back on.
Sure.
Because if an employee is outside of that travel
If
policy.
there is one, it'll be under the Business Affairs Division. There is somewhat.
Right, I
That's it.
agree, okay. That may be something that we need to take up.
That I'm looking at. Okay.
The other part of the salary schedule, cafeteria managers, is that going to be reviewed at all, or has that been reviewed, or
We haven't looked
is that
at.
generally part of the CESPA side of it, or our side?
Yeah, I think it's ours. They're not, I don't believe
They're
they're,
under-
They're administrators.
they're
by
administrators,
definition.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, and they've not had anything,
We can look at,
I mean, when you consider what they do in relationship to what they make.
I will say that we want to look at every position in coming up, I mean, I'm not gonna give a date, because I'm not saying
No,
anything
I
like that.
understand.
We wanna look at
But
every
during the summer-
position, especially at the district level, and my aspiration is to level everyone's pay.
Hmm.
And, but that's just an initial conversation statement. That means that, we have so many variations of paid on seniority, and not to be disrespectful, while we support seniority and we appreciate people for being in a district, it's the same job, the person on the left and the right are doing the same job. So, when I say level pay, you know, it's, it allows you to have controls financially in an assist. So in saying that, we can look at this portion of it. I do know that I think it's $24,000 starting pay, I believe, and we will look at if there's any way.
I mean, they're responsible for a lot, financially as well as physically, as well as nutritionally for children.
And I have a question, under miscellaneous salaries, it's Roman numeral 4, page 1, substitute teachers.
Okay.
I'm almost positive a couple of years ago, when we took on Kelly Services, right after that, we changed the salary up that we were giving our substitute teachers to
We lowered it.
$75 a day. And this what's in here is not what we changed it to, and it actually says school board approved 6/16/16. And I'm
What page is
certain.
that again, I'm sorry?
Go to the very end, it's Roman numeral 4, page 1, under miscellaneous salaries. And this shows, it's the 15, it's completely stricken, so you've stricken it all, which I'm glad you did. But it says pending board approval 4/6/17, which is our next meeting. Mr. Roski, has this been in here the whole time? Because
Yeah, I
this
think
is
so.
not,
I
this
think
is
the-
not what we approved.
I think the thought was that since we use Kelly sub, it's no longer necessary to have substitutes in the salary schedule, complete salary schedule.
So we have zero internal
We
Clay
have
County
0
subs.
internal Clay County substitutes.
Yeah, that,
We,
No, it's
what
just-
about long-term subs? We don't pay
That's
them?
all for Kelly.
It's all through Kelly.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, last meeting was really long, and I don't recall. Did we approve another contract for Kelly subs last meeting?
I do not believe so.
There was something that
Yeah.
came up about Kelly though, recently.
I think,
Just a
didn't
question.
I ask that you do
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
Evaluation.
evaluation because
And we
I'm
haven't,
not sure we're saving
Yeah.
money
Done
there.
that.
It went from, what were we paying, like 1.2 million, and now we're at 3 something?
Yeah.
It's more than double than
Yeah.
what
We're
we're
in the-
So I believe, and please tell me if I'm wrong, this
Yes,
is,
sir.
we were at 2.4, and I believe we're at 4.6.
correct.
So
Not
moving
for
forward
subs.
for 17, 18, we are going to put controls in for how you generate or ask for a sub. There has to be controls in reference to what qualifies for a sub, when you need a sub, and how you use subs. And right now, to be openly and honestly, that's not happening. If I want a sub to cover an extra sub or an extra body in the school, I can call, and we're just paying the bill. So we're going to put controls in for 17, 18 to make sure that we're not spending the $2 million. Because if we're going to outsource, which I'm fine with, it has to be fiscally healthy, and we're not. $2 million is a lot of money. We can do a lot of stuff with.
Well, my recollection is that the reason we went outside wasn't so much for the cost controls, it was because then we would have, if somebody worked over 200 hours, we had to offer health insurance.
Benefits.
The insurance.
Yeah.
And
Health
so-
insurance was the
that
key
was
to
the
this
reason.
whole.
And that was, we didn't want to pay somebody to
Right, I
have
can
to
just
track
imagine.
hours. But I will tell you that very frequently, the schools down at the south end of the county are just told, we can't get you subs. So they're not the
That
ones using
happens
the
up
money.
here too. And where they can't get the subs that they want, especially in elementary schools, they have their favorite subs that, know the students, have been with them, and so they wanna call up, Mrs. Stutter to come and sub
well, they're
for
also
so-and.
effective subs.
They are, because.
There's a big difference between just
Exactly.
calling and getting
And they
the warm
can't get the
body.
subs they want, so it
Because the
it
warm
worked
body's
much
not
better when we did it in-house. We did it in our HR department. We had, the subs we wanted, teachers would come back and the lesson plan was taught and covered, and it's not working that way now.
Nope.
So, I understand why we had to go with it. And is that still the case?
Well, there's a company that
Is
has,
there still
Yes.
medical?
there's a
Yes.
company, and I don't remember the name of it, but I gave Mr. Davis their business card that they've approached me the past few times at FSBA, I'm sure you've talked to them too. They guarantee like a 90% placement rate.
I think that Kelly subs actually has a very good placement rate. They're considered to be the leader in the state of Florida. The issue is when you call in at the last minute. If you call in the morning of, it becomes more difficult. If there's time, then that occurs.
Yeah, but think about when we need a sub. It's because somebody's kid woke up throwing up in the middle of the night. I mean, really, that's when the
So,
teachers usually,
can-
teachers are good,
So I can say in my former life, what we did in the last 2 years is in the allocation plan, I built in and gave each school a sub. Now, we owned it, and we paid for it. I'm just kidding, but you always had someone on site, no matter what. And it reduced, that cost reduced a significant cost. I'm not there to make that recommendation yet because I'm trying to better understand financials, but I think it's a strategy moving forward. That way, the school that can't get one always has one.
or they could even trade,
Right.
local, like
Within
schools
the
near each
school,
other.
all
Yeah,
that happens. Well,
absolutely.
that,
So-
Argyle could send one down to Poe if you needed to or something.
and generally subs are needed daily, I mean, quite literally.
Yep. They really are. They really are.
And what happens is if
More than
we
one.
have a teacher that's out and that sub is assigned, but then another teacher gets sick, there are subs that are changed all the time. So
So-
once a sub gets there, it's not necessary.
Are we sure we want to strike this language from our policy? I mean, we're
Well,
not
think
using
of-
it, it's not affecting anything, it's not hurting being there one way or the other. And if we're gonna
Yeah,
address
to
this,
that point,
maybe this should
to that
stay.
point, then we
And what
can,
we should do
it's
is,
a good recommendation.
at the time, I can tell you right now, that I don't believe this 85 is correct, it was 75, do you remember?
It was hot, it was at that point, and when they went to Kelly, it dropped.
It was 100 and
And it's
125,
dropped again, if I'm
and
not
then
mistaken,
we
I've been
adjusted
hearing
it.
from subs too.
Well, why don't we leave it,
Well-
and you would come back with an
Yes, ma'am.
evaluation for us as
Yes,
to
ma'am.
where we're at, and let us know you know, we can decide, do we, you know, what we wanna do, and then we can always strike it down the road.
Yes, ma'am.
Let
Well,
me ask, let me ask something. Have y'all lately, in the last year or so, gotten any more complaints about Kelly? We went through a spell there when we first got Kelly
Yeah.
out for a while.
Penguins yesterday.
That, yeah, that the long, like Janice was talking about, people that the principals and the schools like to get, they weren't able to get these
Right.
people who were known to the kids and to the faculty and knew how to the school in. They would be, not allowed to come there, weren't hired, and they would have somebody coming in from Duval who was just out of the blue. And so I hadn't heard anything here lately, but for a while there, but we didn't go to Kelly because we weren't happy with what we were doing here. It was totally money
The
with the
cost
health
savings.
insurance.
Yeah.
But I haven't had any major complaints here lately, but I am concerned that they overlook some of our people who have subbed for years in Clay County who now aren't being offered sub jobs in lieu of some unknown from another county.
There were some requirements for substitutes at that point as well, that many of our substitutes weren't able to meet. And some of them were grandfathered in.
Yeah, correct.
Speaking.
Yeah,
Most of them were
But I know that
grandfathered back in.
from a teacher's perspective, it was difficult to get into that understand how to work with
Right.
Kelly.
So it's also
And once that started rolling, it was a lot easier.
Well, my perception is what happens is substitute teachers go ahead, they look for a job to open, and then they click on the next available job. So if they're used to going to Argyle every day in the past, and they want to guarantee employment, what they do is, they click on the next available job, which sends them to Oakley. Instead, they don't get to stay there, so a couple things.
But if they take out the, say the principal at Oakley really wanted this teacher, can they not still get
Yes.
them?
Right,
There's no way around it?
there's a way around
You
it.
can recommend,
You can, like,
but the problem is
as-
availability.
Yeah.
one of the reasons that it's so simple now as a teacher to get a sub. And I know I've got so many days, and I go into the system, and I call my friend Carol, who is a sub, and I say, are you available on such and such a day? And she goes, yes. And I say, okay, I'll request you right now. Ba-ding. And I requested her, Kelly has given me the day off, and you're my sub.
Okay.
And you've gone into your email, because you just got an email from Kelly saying, can you work for Mary on that day?
Okay.
Everything's fine and dandy.
Well, that would be
That's
good.
why the money is going out the door, because at that point then, I fill out my leave slip. I've got a doctor's appointment on such and such a day. I've already picked up my sub. My sub will be so-and-so to be on this day. Will you approve that for me? Sure, not a problem.
We'll look into
I
it.
don't know how every school does it, but it's, once you get into the routine, it's very simple. And going back to when it was in the school, it wasn't always simple. It wasn't always easy, because
Sure.
if I got sick first thing in the morning, the person I would call is my assistant principal. And so the
And they had
assistant
scrounge.
principal would sit there with her phone on. If she wasn't available, my next call would be to my principal, and then it would be to the principal's secretary, who are at that point all scrambling
Scrounging
to find
it.
subs.
Yeah.
So I know that when Kelly took over, the assistant principals and the secretaries and everyone else who had to find those subs was breathing easy.
That's not true at the high school, because Fleming Island High School had lots of problems and lots of obstacles, because they have specific teachers they wanted to request, and teachers that, you know, for math and whatnot, and it was just a nightmare. And it might be better now, but at the time, and I'm talking the first 2 years, it was a nightmare. So I would really like you to.
Yep, I'll look into
Bring it
it.
back.
I had a conversation with individual Kelly subs, and I can tell them, I promise them we will not be spending $4.something million next year. So they can take that. So more conversations to come.
All right, thank you.
All right, C8 is overnight trips. These are for Middleburg and Orange Park. This is for a design and construction competition in April, but this is based on their qualifications. So I don't know if they qualified.
Nobody qualifies.
No one qualifies, so we don't need it. I put it there as a placeholder. Oh, that one can go, Miss Bush. We wish they didn't. They worked hard. All right, I like striking things, we could, C9 is Tier 3 reading intervention I talked about last month, about us starting the process of bringing in intervention for kids. This is an initial process. We're doing a pilot at Grove Park.
All titles.
Yeah, all Title I schools. This is for kids in 1st or 3rd grade. We'll start it. This is working for that kid in our bottom quartile who really has deficiency with phonics, phonemic awareness, fluency comprehension. And this is a awesome opportunity and curriculum that will help kids navigate through and understand the backbones of foundations of reading, so, and literacies.
And this is a paper and pencil sort of thing, it's
Yep.
not computerized?
No, not computerized, yes ma'am. So already having teachers raving about it, we started some in December, just for pilot, and super excited. So this would be for 17, 18 initially now, and it'll be great using the SAI funds for this. This is the start of putting in systems for literacy. Just up front, we'll have more coming for May.
I'm sorry, you brought up Title I, can I quick ask a
Sure.
question about Title I?
Yeah.
Title I schools, you had said that we're adding Ridgeview next year into the grant request?
See, you only
Does the
one.
grant,
Ridgeview Elementary.
Ridgeview Elementary is the only one that we're adding?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that, when we do the grant request to the federal government, is that based on the number of schools that qualify for Title I? And can that vary each year then?
It can
As to
vary
how that
each year.
happens?
It's the qualifications, and it can vary each year. You have to look at the entire demographics.
Right,
The
right.
pot of money remains the same.
So you
it's
only
based
get
on
so much money
correct. It's
every
based
year?
on county. So when they look at the holistic demographics of our county, and they say, all right, we're going to give you $100,000 based on the students you service. So it's our job to determine where that $100,000 is distributed to schools, and we can identify if it's more schools, less schools. So we want to try to expand the resources, because we know in 18-19 that the president's new budget is going to, he should put a boatload of money in Title I. So 18-19 is going to be a great opportunity for us to expand further, and this is just a first process of it.
Okay, and the question about junior highs, I'm thinking Orange Park Junior High.
Yeah,
Technically would be
yeah.
classified
They're-
Title I.
I mean,
Because
they're
they get
definitely-
feeders from many Title I.
They're on
schools.
that border of it. I believe there'll be an 18-19 shift.
Okay.
of resources.
That was a question.
Montclair, it was Montclair, I think right out.
Mhm.
Right now, it's based on about 70% free and reduced
Yeah.
lunch. And
Yes.
the principal at Ridgeview actually went out and pursued
Yeah, they did a good
families to
job.
apply. What
It's hard to
happens
get
in
that.
junior high and high school, the children don't want to apply
Right,
because they don't want anyone to
Yeah.
know. So as long
Right,
as we had a
right.
digital system where they
62%.
could, we could generate more children.
Yeah.
Again, the problem is the same pot of money. And I will tell you from my past practice, we almost double fund our Title I schools here in Clay County. So having been a Title I principal, I received about half of the funding that a school my size here in Clay gets. So we're being very generous with that. We
Good.
could go wider, but it would be thinner.
yes.
And you would start hearing the calls, obviously,
Right.
because they're very privileged to have the number of people they fund with that in their schools right now.
When
Not
I-
to say they don't need them, it's just.
When I was at Cherry, Angie Whidden came in
Yes.
and did the exact same thing that
She
the
does.
principals
Yeah.
at Ridgeview did,
Right.
because we were not Title I.
And-
And we had more than enough
No, I
families,
agree. I
but
think
they weren't applying because they were too proud.
Keystone would probably be our next school to come
Yeah.
online. They're very, very close. We're looking out for her actually because we know that she's had some decline there. And definitely watching the middle school work.
Yeah.
I think you need to look at Montclair though, Montclair probably qualifies too.
Montclair may qualify. No, Orange Park Junior High is at 62%, and there's
Wilkinson
another
Junior?
Wilkerson Junior High School potentially. So we know that 18-19 would be a big push. To go back to what Ms. Bola talked about with the principal evaluations, it will include enrollment and board. So I mean, now with House Bill 729, enrollment has to be a priority. So their job is to market and go out like that principal did at Ridgeview and bring more people. She generated more money by doing that. Simple. Alright. C10 is the State Crisis Management Program for ESC. This is where we have our required PCM training for staff. You can see in the data that our numbers continue to go down. We will continue to make sure that it's a priority with training every single year for our staff members.
I frequently get requests from bus drivers to have this kind of training because they have ESE kids on
Yeah.
their buses. They are not trained in safe crisis management and they would like that training.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that can be accomplished.
So
Someone's
the issue
talking about
becomes, the problem is when you train, and now you're driving a bus, and then you have a mat. I mean, it comes to a real intense training of how that even works. I mean, we're gonna pull a bus, so, I mean, there may be opportunities that need a restraint. You should have monitors and assistants on the bus for most of them.
I've supported districts where bus drivers have kind of requested some kind of training around de-escalation techniques, crisis management in the moment. You get very nervous when we start talking about training a lot of folks on how to touch kids and restrain us.
I don't think they're asking for that, I think it's de-escalation, and I think it's more the kids that are riding the mainstream buses.
Probably more so than the students with disabilities, so we can definitely look, I can work with Dr. Kemp and we can get some training in front of the bus drivers for next year.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
A few years ago, during a litigation that we were going through, it came out, safe crisis management was a key subject in this litigation. And during the witness testimonies and so forth, it seemed that there were not enough people getting this training. And I was told that, you know, the funding is so short and blah, 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 blah. And so we can only offer it to the ESC and so forth. But my question is who all does get this training?
This should be ESC teachers and certain,
Assistants.
yeah, and assistants, but I believe that would be it. I don't know if we,
Assistant principal?
no, assistants in the classrooms.
In the classroom.
Right, we could train assistant principals within the schools who are interacting with certain components of that population.
I think it
So
was
that was the
a
first
PE teacher that
It
had
was the first
requested.
time that I had
I
been
did
really
get it.
intimately
So if
involved in that, and it seemed to me that the whole issue, I wasn't real clear as to why more weren't trained in it, and Mike, you may have
Well,
addressed that,
yes,
because
ma'am.
you get into the legalities and so forth.
It does become a cost factor, because it's not necessarily an inexpensive training, so you have to be very strategic. Plus, every year we have to send about 4 or 5 people to Miami who are our trainers to get that updated training so that we stay in compliance. So it really just boils down to cost. What I would offer is that one of the things that we want to introduce next year district-wide is the youth mental health first aid training, which will raise awareness for teachers, all teachers. It will also give them some tools and strategies for the moment, but not so much a restraint or crisis management in that regard, but at least to raise their level of literacy, their level of understanding.
And
So between that, I think, and a lot of our restraint training and de-escalation training, which is a very good idea, I think that package can help us handle our.
I just, you know, it may not be this that they need, but I think from what Betsy said, and just the knowledge
Sure.
of expanding it out, because I think there's a lot of them out there who really don't know what to do at all.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
and if we could do something that doesn't cost a lot of money, but yet do a little educating, I think it would help. It really came to light during that.
Well, and the frustration there is
Yeah.
that resource teachers, PE teachers, all work with ESC students.
Sure.
And if
And
they,
they
even
do
though
that.
there are aides there, they're not always aides in
Right.
high schools.
And that
Or
was
in the
kind of the
junior high.
situation.
We can look at it if there's a, I mean,
There's a-
any teacher that touches a kid that may have, there may be a need for physical or mental restraint, then we'll look at if this training qualifies.
Okay.
On top of it, I will reiterate what Mike says, and I haven't pushed this to you, which we will push this to you in the next 30, 45 days. Our plan for youth mental health that you spoke about, for indicators, and also we'll do adult mental health training as well, first aid training. So that's going to be big training for this district that we haven't ever been exposed to allow us to work with kids and have pre-identifiers to help them.
Awesome.
So
Sounds
it'd be awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Powell.
I would point out that the data certainly is a good thing that you see on your agenda.
It is great.
It's just progressively going
It's going
down.
down.
The restraint and even more importantly, the seclusion.
Yeah.
See the positive changes you're making already.
Professor. C11 is mileage paid to parents in group homes. This is where we send students to specialized sites such as Mainspring and Daniel to assist them with any behaviors they may have. These are for students with who are maybe on the autism spectrum or many additional assistance. C12, this is for us to permission to publish advertisement for Algebra 1 with financial literacy adoption. We are offering LAM 2 in this district, which is not approved by the NCAA, so for an athlete, that's the kid doesn't get credit for it. But however, they're getting a diploma. And we have 829 students that are currently in LAM 2. I think that's out of 8,200 students. I think it's 10%, but still it's 10% of kids that may not be able to go on and do something additional to what they aspire to do. They may eventually have to back up a credit. So what we want to do instead is remove LAM 2 from the course offerings and put financial literacy within our core sequence of curriculums. We're working now to see if the 829, how many of those are athletes and what we can do to help them. Thank you, Mr. Connor. C13 is a proclamation for School Library Month. C14 is K-12 academic support for student travel. This is mostly, if you see that the travel has already happened, it's all because it's late competitions. So please know that it's basically ROTCs that have identified to be regional competitions for Clay High School, Middleburg, and leadership conferences. Orange Park High School as well. They're going to this is a competition they had to qualify for to go through, I think it's Thespians, for the competition. And then we have one, Middleburg High School, going to a dance competition in July. New forms, bunch of dates, bunch of signs, funding sources. So it's actually good. It's a good chance.
Is that, like a silly question, but the stamp at the top that says too late for the board meeting? There's a stamp at the top of one of those that says too late for the board meeting, do you see that?
Oh.
Yeah, that stamp should be TOO, that's a teacher thing, you know, instead of TO. Every time I see that, I go, oh.
Black orange one.
Who knows that?
I'm like,
I really don't know who owns that stamp.
I'll follow
just
up.
add another
Thank
roll
you.
for me. Thank you. That'll just
I can
make me
just see
happy.
Mr. Connor with
I'm gonna be nice.
I actually never recognized it. I don't get it when a stamp comes to me.
We're an educator.
I get it pre-stamped.
You know where I'm coming from.
I'm just gonna sit here and smile.
For ridding. Sorry.
Sorry, my mom always said if you can't say something nice, just keep your mouth shut.
I caught you by
So I'm
surprise.
That's what I thought she was thinking. Anyway.
She was.
We'll move along.
Okay, sorry.
Move along.
C15 is a policy 4.28. This is a change, recommended to advertise for changes.
It's not on our.
Oh, sorry. I read. Sorry, I wrote that. Take C15 out. The next one is, you don't see that?
C15, there's a
There's no
C15
C15
on
on
mine.
our.
Advertise changes to
Refresh,
school board policy.
refresh, and there will
Chaperones
be.
on school trips?
And it's
Yeah.
because we made that one change.
Oh, I made a change to it.
Yes.
Sorry. It was on there. I had to take it down. So this is.
Chaperones on
You
school
have
trips?
to go out.
Okay, I've got
Yeah,
that.
just
hit the
refresh.
How do I refresh?
The little
Up at the top, yeah,
Like
like a
a
half
circle
circle.
with an arrow at the top left.
We don't have that. Is it the star?
It's right there.
Oh, the one to the
Yeah.
left.
Okay.
I'm
Fine, it was
sorry.
go. Put it on.
I'm good.
All right, so this one is a advertised changes to our board policy 4.28 with chaperones.
Did you get it?
This is in the board policy. We never had a number that identifies how many chaperones are required per ratio of students. So we're putting for every 10 students, we want one chaperone. And it also adds language in the back for chaperones not be able to bring preschoolers or children with them so they can focus on our kids. Maybe they use appropriate language to be appropriately dressed, 18 years of older, and be clear by our volunteer, by all of our measures internally for background checks. It must remain with our groups at all times.
So I have a question for you. Or what happens, what
Okay.
really happens in our elementary schools? Because I've used to chaperone a lot.
Yes, ma'am.
The parents who had preschoolers or didn't want to follow dress code or whatever, they would just come to the location, but they wouldn't
Right,
actually
they
be a chaperone.
yeah,
Is
that
that
happens.
still going to be allowed? Or?
I mean, we can't grant access to, I mean, we can't tell, we can't deny access to a venue,
Yep.
What we can do is make sure we have controls and they understand that if they're gonna have their child, they need to check their child out appropriately and walk that kid around. At the same time, if Addison Davis is watching 10 kids, I'm watching those 10 kids, I'm sorry,
Right,
they're
okay,
not.
so they won't be
Yeah.
assigned extra
Correct,
kids.
they won't
Okay.
be, I mean, you know, the issue becomes, is that parent hanging around the 10 kids, and is that parent have a background check, are they cleared? Those get to where it begins a gray area that we have, I mean, then it starts to have a whole awkward conversation, but you gotta protect kids, so.
On the second page, number 6, where it says chaperones, volunteers must be 18 years of age or older, unless the person is an employee of the school board of Clay County. You really don't need that
Yeah,
unless
that's
the
right,
person's
yeah.
I take
it
the age
seems like
out
that
of
should be 8, and it should probably just say 18
18
years
and
of
take the last
age.
set?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just,
What?
if they're an employee, they're at least 18.
okay. Yeah,
you know.
Not necessarily, because could they be student employees through the pre-K?
They could.
And if they're taking the pre-kindergarten children to Publix, to the bakery, to see how to decorate a cake, and the students are used as chaperones to go along with them, then they would be technically either students or school board employees,
No,
is that
they're not an
correct?
employee, they're a student in an academy then, they're a student.
There are some,
There
I
are
thought
there are
that-
some students that are actually paid,
Yeah, that's what I
that
was
work for the
thinking.
district, that are probably 16, 18,
Right,
through that
that's,
academy.
and that's, I thought that's why that was still in there.
So why, what did you say about
Well,
number 6?
I didn't think that
But
we should
still-
have unless
they may not even.
Yeah.
the person is an
Mr.
employee
Brodsky,
of the
do
school
those
board.
student
of Clay
employees
County.
legally count as chaperones for us? That
Yeah.
language is left over because we actually made a change to this policy before submitting it to the board. And initially it was a different age, which
Yeah.
is why we had the unless the person is yada yada yada, but those students, do they count as chaperones on those trips?
I would say that now they do not unless they're 18 years of age.
I don't think they do, and my understanding is that the teacher is still responsible for adhering to a specific number of students she has, which is why some of those classes have aides, don't they?
They can't be responsible off of the school grounds.
Right, well,
Legally,
I
I mean,
think,
think of it from the legal standpoint, we would be in major trouble.
right, I would say we could just leave the chaperones, volunteers must be 18 years of age, and can we leave it like that? And then if they're 18 years of age, then they qualify to be a
Oh,
chaperone.
I agree with that.
So then the backside of it can go away.
And
Of
Mr.
this
Superintendent,
sentence.
I can look into the individual academies with the children or students possibly serving as chaperones to see if there is an issue there or how the
Okay.
schools operate.
4.2. But this is just putting controls in for chaperones that we didn't have.
I almost wish you could put something in there that says also may only, if they're in a car,
Thank you, Mike.
or if they have any
Thank you, Dave.
electronic, they can also only listen to age-appropriate music.
Well, that's kind of covered.
It's kind of covered, but, yeah, but
Where's the other?
The ones you want to
the
control
ones I
aren't
want,
gonna
well, generally the
listen
ones that we
anyway.
want to control aren't the chaperones either.
Thank you for bringing that to us.
Yes, ma'am. C16 is New Leaders for Schools. This is a program for Level 2 certification. This is a national program that has national recognition through really proven to demonstrate and train assistant principals or vice principals ready to be leaders. And for us, this will be paid for with a grant that we get from a federal grant that we receive. This really focuses on building and strengthening the instruction of our leaders, looking at enacted improvement, and also looking at fostering high expectations. And this is preparing a bench of assistant principals and vice principals truly ready to get level 2 certification and be a leader within this organization. And so there will, to be honest, there's only going to be 5 candidates selected because,
Right.
I mean, we don't want to get, our bench continues to be longer and stronger. We have 200 plus people who aspire to be an AP that I'm going to sit with a team, we're going to vet every one of them. I'm going to interview all 26 individuals that have level 2 certification, and we're going to do a real in-depth identification of who can go in this program. This is a 1-year rigorous, intense program about how to be a successful leader. And national trends show that individuals in impact have a 78% of growth within their schools compared to a 50%. They retain leaders 3 or more years in their system versus getting trained and leaving, so we can also put that in the commitment to the individual that we train for
So this is specifically for assistant principals?
This is the person who is the next step tiered, ready to be a principal,
Okay,
be ready,
so even, okay.
vice principal, be that.
So if we pay for the training and they go through the training, we can have some sort of commitment.
Like we can uppoint, if you're gonna get in this program, we can say, you're committed to the district for 3 years.
I like
So
that.
Yeah.
yes.
That's in private
Return on-
industry all the time. We pay
Yes.
for your
I
master's
mean,
yes.
degree.
It should be,
But then you
I agree,
understand
this should
that.
be the same way we should negotiate IB and A's training,
Mhm.
Yeah,
so a lot of money.
yeah, I agree.
This will be great this is gonna be good for the district. C-17 is a resolution for April for Child Abuse Prevention Month. Number of activities that are gonna take place this month through truck tours or DCF, through looking at pinwheel classrooms and throughout the district, so that represent, that's their, I guess their brand.
The symbol for the state of
Yeah,
Florida
yeah.
is the pinwheel.
Yeah.
It's since, yeah. Which I didn't know that, and some of the schools will have pinwheel gardens outside that they're working on.
They'll have some contests internally at-risk schools. They're gonna, DCF women will be reaching out to parents of at-risk kids. Just telling them we're here to support. C-18 is a proclamation for military, a month of military child. C-19 is another proclamation for school nutrition. I'm sorry, guys,
So many
I have never
proclamations.
seen so many proclamations, but they keep coming.
We used to have, one every 3 months. I don't,
Now there's a
Yeah.
whole website about
Is it?
what day
Yeah.
it is
There's a
and
bunch.
national
Every
whatever
day
There's a
is
day.
bunch.
Sunday.
People taking pride.
You apply now. Now you apply to this
Hallmark.
website, you're gonna have a new day.
Buy a greeting card. Hallmark needs to sell more cards.
C-20 is allocation change to 16-17. Here we just, you'll see Ridgeview Elementary School, we're changing the title of an ESE assistant from behavior health to general health. And it doesn't restrict us from what individuals can do. We can do broader work at scale. And then we are doing there's also an ad for a clerical support assistant. This individual's been a temporary support staff. If you have any questions about this, I'd ask that you ask me individually.
what is that? What's the IR 9003? That's instructional
Resource. I can talk to you individually on this one. C-21 is proposed changes for 17-18 allocation plan. A lot of changes, as you can see. Some are cost neutral, some are cost factors. Would you like me, if you have any questions on any of these, or I can go individually if you wish me to. But they're all good explanations. All right, C-22 is charter audits for 15-16. We know that we had audits for Orange Park Performing Arts and Clay Academy and Florida Virtual. The biggest concern was the fund balance for Orange Park Performing Arts, and they are now back into the positive with their reserve. That was the biggest issue in this audit. So right now everything sounds, they're pretty sound. I do have staff looking into some of these areas and some of these, reviewing some of these charts to see where we are and where they are in reference to their implementation of their program and agreement of their contracts. Especially when we need kids.
I noticed at a recent Duval School Board
Yeah.
meeting, they went on renewals of contracts, they
Yeah.
went much lower on
Sure.
some of them. Some of them they gave
Yeah.
more years, but on some of them, much more scrutiny.
Yeah.
And I thought that, I'm gonna pay attention to that.
Sure.
That's good precedent if that's something in the, like,
Yeah.
in the case of the Orange Park Performing Arts. I wasn't on the board then, but when you
Right.
all voted no and didn't want it, and then now we've had so many problems, we wouldn't be stuck
Yep.
with a 5-year or a 3-year.
Yeah, so we get to a point where we start in the last 2 years of looking whether or not it's a 10-year, 15-year. We start looking at their trends overall. Did they have, were they nationally recognized, and were they effective overall with their school grades, with recruiting, maintaining, all those things have to come in play. So instead of giving a 10, 15 year, do we give a 3-year, do we give a 1-year, 2-year, whatever it may be and all of it is contingent on their, who's supporting them, or have they been successful in the state or in the nation, and do they believe they can sustain it? So I believe you're right, we should look deeply into these. And I'm all for kids, just parents decide. It's
Well,
competitive.
they have to do a yearly audit, just like we do.
Absolutely.
right?
Yes, ma'am, and this is what it is, this is their yearly audit. Right, C23 is, this is our, pretty much our school board audit from 15-16. It gives us our financials. This is where, as you know, they usually come every 3 years, but I believe they came back to back here. And we had an auditor general financial, and then I think, is it Purvis Gray came?
Purvis Gray.
Purvis Gray came, and they went from 8, same time, they went from 8 identifiables, areas of concern to 3 areas of concern. And those area concerns were report and leave to make sure that we have school recognition, special revenues, and make sure we have the IT disaster plan. And all those have been addressed moving forward, and we'll have a response to them.
And everybody saw the letter that we received, that Mr. Davis sent it, he emailed it to each of us, so we have to respond to that.
Right. We're in the portion, we should have it this week, and you'll see a copy of it this week, of our response. We'll be in detail. C24 is just warrants and vouchers, monthly checks. C25 is amendments for budget amendments, any accounts, make sure accounts are clean. C26 is, do we have C26? Can we move that discussion? So this is where the financials were we're going to either report it out or get to a point where we present it, leave it here and approve it, or report it out. And the question is, do we want to start now or July 1?
Well, we're gonna have a budget workshop, I'm sure,
Mhm.
for
Probably
this
May.
next, so let's do it after the budget workshop. Let's then do as Mrs. Stoddard said, the Cliff Notes. How did you word it?
And
Not the
the
gone
readers-
with the
yeah,
wind.
readers-
And I will say,
We
she,
don't want
Dr.
no one
Legecco,
in. Y'all want to say that again?
Dr. Legecco has been working hard on the new reporting system, and it's going to be very nice. You're going to enjoy it. You'll be able to see the visuals. It's awesome. So
Good.
good work. C27.
Don't look at me for all these puns.
C27 is just an annual renewal petty cash for adult and community learning. It's $200. C28, just property reports for furniture equipment. C29, AV materials. C30 is software. C31, just acquisition of vehicles. What do we have? What is our property? White fleet and yellow fleet.
Tell me this.
Yes, ma'am.
Who all has, it's probably on here, I haven't pulled up, but who all gets cars down here?
So ask me who, like, are you talking about admin, or you're talking
Yeah,
about
like-
anyone that goes to schools continuously needs to have a vehicle to get to schools left and right. Yeah, I mean, or you go back to what you're gonna do is you're gonna pay, and we find we will save more money with the vehicle than paying out, the $600,000 that we pay out, so.
Like social workers, do they have cars?
Social workers have vehicles, psychologists have vehicles, anyone that services schools and are itinerants at schools, they all have vehicles to go. We have a white fleet and a yellow fleet. I can tell you, me and Dr. Kemp have looked at we're not done yet, at all of our white fleet, and that's the cars that staff has, and we're gonna try to comb back and where we can, and we're going to try to put a strategy in place. And I know I've talked to Dr. Kemp, but we haven't really committed to it yet. We get vehicles at fleet very cheap, so if we can get to a point where after the first 3 years and we put less than 30,000 miles on them, if we can turn and sell them for what we bought them for, and make money, and sorry to be creative, then we may look into doing that.
And in the afternoons, just for y'all's knowledge, the Mr. McCauley's favorite minivans are used when we don't have buses
Oh,
or
yeah,
small
for small-
sports
yeah,
teams,
yeah.
weightlifting,
Yeah.
tennis, golf, things like
Yeah,
that. So,
Clay High School uses it all the time.
yeah.
Yeah, so. And anybody from admin, and I'll confirm with social workers, psychologists, I know our team, no one takes it home. They are at schools, or they're are locked up, and so that they have access.
Anyone is welcome to use my van, it sits in the gated
The
part.
other day I wouldn't even ride in his van. The other day, I was like, Terry, I'm taking my car, I'm not riding in the van.
Here, but eight people up with the kids, like.
So we're looking at it where we want to save money in that area for fuel, for maintenance. We also want to save money and figure out ways that we can potentially make money. Dr. Kemp.
Who drove to Tallahassee?
I drove day one, and I came back home, and Miss Dennis drove day two. Me and Mike worked in the car, didn't say a word to her all the way there and back to work.
By like
All I knew
7:45, I was like, can I
All I
please turn
know
on the
is when
radio?
I was on the
I was
phone
gonna
with
say,
you,
did you
there
use
was a
age
lot of
appropriate
horn honking.
Oh yeah, you never know what goes on. I
You
usually
hear
sit in the
a
back
semi-
seat
I
and
hear
I
a
work.
semi, and then I hear, wow.
Yeah.
They get mad because they know if
Was that you?
if I ask them to drive me, I'm working. I'm either calling people or working on my laptop or. But they're team players.
Yeah, okay.
She brings up. All right.
Just curious.
That's all right.
To advertise revision to school board policy C230.
Yep. C33, board policy 503, property record accounting. This is, the threshold is $750 that this county has set, and when you look at the state threshold for the property value, it's $1,000. So what we're asking to do is just move from $750 to $1,000, so anything that records $1,000 above, I believe. So we're just trying to get in sync with what the state sets as a threshold. And this reduces some liability too. C34, pre-qualifications for contractors, just contractors every day that want to do business and help and assist. C35, we have awarded the contract for Wilkinson Junior High, the replacement of the HVAC in 3 buildings. C36, we've awarded a contract to Keystone Heights High School for repiping the science wing.
Rejecting that one.
Oh, it's got to go away?
If you read the whole thing, we're not awarding to we're rejecting that contract. We only had one bidder, and it was significantly over budget. And,
Oh, sorry.
as discussed, as the board knows, we're having a difficult time getting local vendors and our local advertising efforts to respond to bid requests, proposals for the Keystone Heights area. So an additional strategy, as we discussed, Mr. Davis, will be to start advertising in Gainesville and Stark area.
Okay.
See, what happens is one bidder comes to the pre-mandatory bid, and not to say that any of our vendors would take advantage of that, but when this particular bid came in with one person responding, it was significantly over what the engineer's budget was. So we're recommending for the repiping project that we reject that bid and put it back out for a more competitive process.
I think that's a great idea to do advertising in Gainesville.
Right. It's just difficult for us to service the Keystone area from the Orange Park.
Right.
And when put it out in the clay.
Can we leave the title the same, or do we need to put, or just leave the recommendation embedded the same? Okay, I'm good then.
If your recommendation says to
Reject.
Reject, okay.
then we're approving the
Reject.
recommendation.
Reject, okay.
Reject.
Good job, Dr. Kemp.
We're approving the rejection.
Saving us
Yes.
money for the classroom.
Well, we're going to take care of the project, but we're going to compete for it.
Yeah,
Yes,
no
sir.
competition to keep everybody.
Yes, ma'am.
Macaulay, don't go get a little piping contract.
I have a van.
C37, construction manager at School Y. The recommendation is that we have Parrish McCall contractors who will be awarded that contract as a CM, right?
See him at risk.
That's correct.
Correct.
Excuse me, what is construction manager at risk? What is this at risk? I've never seen that term before.
Well, it actually, in the writing is there, but basically we create a guaranteed maximum price for the project, and when they submit the GMP, they're at risk for being within that GMP. As a matter of fact, it's our intent to bring back to the board, and I'll get with Mr. Davis, we want to break this project up into 2 GMPs, a guaranteed maximum price for the site, so we can immediately start pushing trees, hopefully as soon as possible on the site work, and then a separate GMP for construction services. So we will be bringing back that GMP for site as soon as possible called as soon as that GMP is developed, so we can get rolling on that. But the at-risk portion is, the at-risk is on them for up to a guaranteed maximum price.
I just wondered, I've seen construction manager over here, I just thought Construction manager at risk, what does that mean? Who's risking what?
Right.
And Dr. Kemp, do you believe that we will, once we identify the CMP for land clearing, do you think it's a 45-day start?
Well, that's as soon as we guarantee, as soon as this is approved by the board for the selection of the CM at risk, we're immediately going to meet with Parrish McCall, the recommended awardee, and our architectural team to create the guaranteed maximum price per site. Traditionally, what has happened in the board practice in the past was we used the previous contract for CM at risk that this board has used and approved. It'll immediately come back with 2 addendums, one for site, one for construction. So as soon as we get the guaranteed maximum price developed for site, that's when we'd like to pursue even a called board meeting to move forward or whatever we may need to do to push those, get it rolling.
Because I will say every day counts, right?
Yes, sir. We're a 14 month. We're 14 months, and Bryce is my project manager here helping me. But we're 14 months from a certificate of occupancy, so it's a push. It can be done. It's doable, but it's a push.
I believe it.
We have faith in you.
What's going to happen, Bryce? Right?
We're gonna listen. We're gonna have a hard hat with you, buddy, and a shovel.
We don't
Right?
need any months.
I got a hard hat already.
I have a University of Georgia hard hat you can borrow if you want.
Well, if it could make you feel better, I'll wear it.
I apologize in advance. You Florida State. I'm sorry. I'm gonna be more.
Carol can get an Alabama one for you.
Just need a big A on it.
Mr. Davis,
Yes, sir.
one last thing. Just so you know, the negotiated for CM at risk, we did negotiate under 5%. Anything under 5% right now in today's market is an outstanding negotiation. So 4.5% for construction, 0.25 for pre-construction services based on the GMP. So was pleased with that. Just as a comparison, when you built last time, it was about that 10 years ago. So we did our team did a good job on it.
Dr. Kemp, we appreciate your work. We appreciate your attention to detail for your team. Look forward to seeing you at the construction site, buddy.
No,
You're gonna live there.
it's us.
Move it in. All right, D1 is up for discussion for moving the July board meeting. We see that it could be a potential problem with everyone being out of town on the 6th. So we're asking to.
My birthday's the 5th.
Happy birthday! Here we
Coming
go.
home just to be happy.
So,
When did you propose moving it?
so there are some dates that I have, but you can, the issue is you can go 10, 11, 12, or you can go before that, on, what is it, June 29th? Is that Thursday?
When are we in Tampa? Are we in Tampa the week of the 12th?
Yeah, early in June.
Early June?
Tampa's the 14th, 15th, 13th, 14th,
Well, I didn't know
15th.
they'd given us the dates yet.
14, 15, 16,
I
okay.
better call again to get my room.
Yeah.
I would recommend sooner than later, sooner before than later. That means that if we can do the 29th, then that gives us time to get everything prepared for the August board meeting as well.
If you moved it to the 29th, the June meeting would be on June the 1st, so you'd actually have 1, 2, 3, almost 4 weeks in between. If you move it after, it crunches that deadline between July and August.
I'm gonna be out of town. We're
When?
going from the
The 29th of June?
Yeah, we're going on a 2-week. We'll be back around July 2nd. It's already booked in. My husband's got vacation, we book vacation a year in advance, so we are leaving June 14th.
My daughter is
You'll
due
come back
June
when?
20th.
No, we're leaving,
So I don't know.
we're leaving June 17th. When are we going? June 17th. Yeah, we're leaving June 17th.
And
Is that
we'll
it?
be back
When
the
would it,
second.
when would it be,
Does he have leave built up for that?
when would it be,
Must be nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Mr. Burnett, when would you do the board agenda workshop
We're
in
going
the
to
summer? Same
Scotland
thing,
and
just a week
Ireland.
before?
Right now it's on the
Yeah.
calendar, the 27th.
It would be, actually, it's usually 2 weeks before, right?
You
The
can have
agenda
it
is
without
on the
me.
27th for the.
The issue is, and I will say that I'm out on the 13th.
We can plan the 29th and I'll try to get out. We'll just come back a couple days early.
They don't have to do that.
Do the 29th. That way, the 4 weeks in between makes perfect sense. It would be silly to then have, 3 weeks between so just do the
That must be your
29th.
vacation.
If I get stuck, because we fly standby, if I get stuck and I miss it,
it'll be that much quicker, I won't be talking. I'll try to be back for it though.
Can we call you in, is that?
No.
Oh, don't go there.
Don't go there.
Dr. Rebecca.
Why is that not right?
You can't.
I just
can't
wanted
vote.
to remind everyone, July 20th is the special board meeting for the draft agenda, the tentative budget for advertisement. So I just wanted to put that out there as well, the trim calendar that I shared with you all.
Right.
So that's on July
What
20th.
day is that?
July 20th.
Yeah, what day?
Thursday.
Yeah,
Thursday.
Oh,
I
it's a Thursday.
I'll raise my hand.
Already gave us the
I'm
calendar.
not here on that day yet.
the trim calendar.
Yeah, move that date.
Oh, no, you are.
Oh, I'm here.
So will we,
We're good.
that'll be a budget workshop?
Sure.
July 20th?
Yes,
You're good.
that's the beginning of our trim calendar.
So you
Go all
can do it
the
on
way.
June 29th.
Yeah, June 29th.
I'll be here on that day.
So the board meets the 29th of,
Were you gonna be gone on the 6th? Are you gone on the 6th?
No,
I'm
I'm
not
here.
gone, so.
You're here on the 6th?
What time are we?
So why are we,
It's
for
3:30.
why
You're
are
gone- you're
we
gone on
having Miss
July
Carrick
On July
shorten her
20th.
vacation
I
and
can
we're here on the
reshare the
6th?
calendar.
Is everybody?
Oh, I am gone sick, sorry, where am
I
I?
was
Just a
here.
reminder
Miss
on
Connie,
one.
this
Ooh,
year,
sorry.
on Tuesday, so
Hey.
Thursday, July
holidays,
20th.
for church staff,
I'm
Yes.
everything ready.
All right.
'Cause
Oh.
Friday,
He is
we're
on the
off
sixth.
Do
Fridays
you want
for
me
the
to send you the
summer also.
calendar?
Oh,
Just
I see.
all the
Okay.
dates.
he is
I
on the
forgot.
6th.
Oh, so you were the one who
Okay.
requested it be moved.
Okay. I just was wondering,
Sorry.
I don't advocate anybody having to shorten their vacation.
So what's the, did we come up with a final decision? I'm pretty available.
29th?
Y'all tell me.
29th?
And then I'll go ahead and try to work up all the new schedule dates and send them out.
Are we
That's a
we're
good
keeping it at
idea.
6:30?
That pushes the agenda meeting up to the 20th?
If I'm not back, if I get stuck, I get stuck.
Are we keeping the meeting at 6?
So when is the
Schedule
agenda,
running.
when is the
I work.
agenda setting meeting for that?
No, the workshop's in
July.
July.
We'll send that out, I can send it out today with adjust.
Yeah,
But I mean, she,
Right now it's
she's gonna
set.
be gone.
yeah. I'll miss the agenda workshop.
So
We'll
we'll
be here
let
for
you,
that, but.
but is that usually a week before?
But I'll
The
have
20th would be
access.
the
I
agenda
usually
work
do
Tuesday.
that. Usually I'll wing it.
Yeah.
I feel like a week and a half before usually. We're
I
on
thought we said
Tuesdays.
this summer we were gonna look at changing the date when school's out.
For,
So it's kinda hanging out there for the agenda.
for agenda
workshop.
workshops, we're gonna move it to 9 for the next two, but then when school's out, yeah, we can switch it to Monday. And that way it doesn't interfere with Rotary.
So y'all wouldn't-
And then
Yeah,
we'll see when we
we'll
come
put
back.
some suggestions.
Yeah.
The one that I think hangs out there that, I don't know if it's a difficulty for anybody else, but it just is really hard to remember and plan around is disciplines.
Yes.
And they're scheduled on the 27th as well,
Yes.
and that just is just like right in the middle of the afternoon and really,
I'd like to do it.
Do you guys wanna go back to doing
Can
them
we-
the same day as the school?
That's what I was
board
gonna
meetings?
ask. Is there
Listen,
a reason why we can't move it back to the
No,
Thursday?
I would say that makes,
Well, the only
Since for
problem
me.
was, we used to meet at 7, so we would do disciplines at maybe 4 or 5, depending on how many. And then we had like about an hour to run and get something for dinner. Well, now that we've moved our meetings up to 5:45, we'd be doing disciplines like at 3. Well, now we're not really accommodating parents to get there by, 4 or 5, it just moves it up so early. That I think that's why we
I
ended
don't
up.
think it's gonna matter to a parent.
doing
if
it
they
on a
have to do
different
it.
day.
They have to be there.
I'm
They
fine
have to be
with
there
if you
at
wanna
4
do it all on the same
We've been
day.
meeting
we can
at
do
4
it.
o'clock.
And then
I'm okay
you're
with
just
that.
coming up once,
yeah.
it makes it
Yes.
easier for you.
Is 3 o'clock?
Works with you, Ashley?
I'm fine
So
with it.
what,
So, are we changing it for this month? Or
We
we've already sent it out.
Yeah, we've already sent it.
Yeah,
So
they're
we're-
working
so
on
we
that.
can't
I'm not sure that we can move this
when
one.
are they?
I think it's,
Tuesday, the,
Tuesday, the
Fourth.
4th.
yes, Tuesday the 4th at
Right.
3:30.
3:30.
Tuesday, April 4th?
And it was at 3:30, so if we just
You're
move
gonna
it
miss
up
that,
to
aren't
3,
you?
that's no big deal.
I'm sorry, Tuesday, April 4th, I will be at Mayo all day long. I changed his having a procedure. I will not be available on the 4th, so I'll be here this time.
We can check on the letters.
Yeah,
So
we'll
it's,
be good.
what time is that day in case?
I don't know how many students they have.
It's only usually
April
3 or
4th
3.
at
That's the
3:30.
disciplinary.
Yeah.
How many are those?
Usually 2 or 3.
Can we
It
move?
depends, sometimes, I mean, we've actually had
10.
10, 11, it depends on, and the closer to the end of the year, the more we get.
Okay.
Can we
Yeah, I
move
won't
the
miss
student
but 2
hearing
or
from
3.
May 2nd to Thursday, May 4th? Is it too late to do that?
Yeah, we should be able to move
No,
the
anything
month
moving
of
forward,
May.
yeah,
We just can't move.
Going to
April.
May on, we can continue that practice.
So we
we
can,
can
for
change
May,
it.
we can move it to the same day as the
correct.
board meeting.
That's right. Yep,
That's what everybody would like? Yeah,
I agree with that.
okay.
Thank you.
And then we would be at 3 o'clock. It's 3:30, well,
So are we starting them at 3 or at 4?
3 or 3:30 or 4?
I guess
Well,
it
they're doing
depends
it
on how many
through
It
there are.
usually lets us know based on how many.
Yeah, they usually
Yeah,
do something.
I would put the
That's-
placeholder at 3,
right.
just in case. And if we have less, we can push it back a month. Okay. All right. D2, special action. Flip through that one.
Yeah, we don't discuss those. So go right to the board attorney.
D3, D4, special action. Board attorney is D5.
So did everybody look at the contract for this? It was on the back
That's a
of.
list of all the.
You get it, yeah.
Just to make sure I have it.
Yeah, why did you want to give it?
Yeah, I mean, just, this has been a, a process trying to get through. We are at a part where the recommendation in the contract through negotiations through Mr. Brodsky has worked very hard. The salary's at $135. We have provided a secretary instead of a legal assistant.
There'll be a separate allocation for that?
I will look internally to find someone, so.
Where will we take it from? So another
know.
department will lose a secretary?
Somewhere internally in the organization. Or we put it, or the board decides. I would say you just let me look at where it could be.
How are you gonna get a secretary that's got legal knowledge?
We are recommending that we do not replace, so.
I mean, we can't afford a paralegal.
It's
It'd be a whole new allocation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've had conversations, and this is where we are with the agreement and negotiations, and he understands what we will provide. I'm gonna try to do it internally. So if you'll give me a week to determine if we can do it internally, then I'll let you know if we need an allocation for it, if approved by the board. Board will have the option to terminate anytime within the first 2 years, so with 8 weeks notice. And then you'll have a review at 90 days, and you will also have a review at 6 months. Mr. Brodsky, anything on this?
Nope, that's it.
Could you
And
do
Mr.
me a
Brodsky's worked
favor?
hard on this.
It seemed
And tell me his last name. Can you pronounce his last name for me?
Dagada.
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 It seemed like he
Dagada.
was requesting an awful lot of membership in organizations that previous attorneys didn't even have that much. It was, I mean, I expect the bar and the Florida Association of School Board Attorneys and Westlaw. I didn't expect all the other stuff. That's gonna add up to a significant
is
amount of money. I know Mr. Poole's contract didn't have any of that. I know previous 2 attorneys that I've worked with had, some stuff, but not as much as that.
Chester Bedell in the court.
It seemed like some of them, I didn't even know what they were, but it seems like an awful lot of stuff that's on there.
The bar, the Florida Board Attorneys Association, the Educational Law Association, the Clay County Bar Association, the Federal Bar Association. These are all,
This is
Have
gonna
we
cost
paid
a lot.
have we
Have
paid
we
their bar
historically?
dues before?
We paid bar dues.
We did,
We have?
we did pay
Sure,
the
that
bar
would be
dues
nice.
and
Yeah,
we
that
paid
was
the
one of
Florida
these.
School Boards Attorney Association
Sure.
membership, but that
What
was
is
it.
Chester Bedell in of court?
Chester Bedell is a fraternal honor society. Law students are invited to law school and then stick with throughout their career, so.
We shouldn't be paying that
How much
kind
does
of
that
stuff.
cost?
I mean,
It's several,
So-
each of these is between $500 and $1,000, I believe.
Really?
The Chester Bedell might be a little less than 500, but standard practice would be normally just pay bar dues for an attorney. Extracurriculars fall on the attorney themselves.
and I'd be fine with paying the association for the Florida School Board Attorney Association and Westlaw, but I have issue with the rest of all that other stuff. I think
so,
it's gonna add up to quite a bit, that's more than what we were looking for. I also think the salary at 135 is much more than I was expecting, since Mr. Daggett doesn't have the school board experience that we would require. It should be closer to the lower end, in my opinion. 125 is where I would have thought. I think the 135, even though I know it's $10,000, I mean, we're quibbling over $15,000 for our bargaining team. Every penny counts, so I also think that this salary is too high.
I will,
What was the range?
the range is 125 to 150.
120 to
120 to 150, and my understanding, Mr. Dagada is, what, 128, 129 right now? Current salary, 128, 129?
I think it is from 28 right
Kind of beside the point.
Yeah, I know, I'm
What he's
just
making right
giving
now, it's what
you
we can afford to pay.
information. I
And
agree.
he's not working
This
as a
is-
school board, full-time school board attorney, he's working for general counsel, so there's a difference, I mean, there's, you know. And I also expect that this full-time attorney does everything in-house and that we're not contracting out for, you know, anything, like the property by Tynes, we had to contract out with Copalucis and Bradley. Mr. Garrison came and handled that for us, which we appreciated, but those are additional legal fees. You know, previous when we had a full-time attorney, everything was handled in-house, and that's what I expect to happen, is it's all handled in-house and we're not contracting out.
It was not handled in-house.
Other than the
Labor.
workers' comp and the,
Yeah.
actually, most things were handled in-house. Workers'
Most,
comp
but
was
not
not.
all.
I have a question, Mr. Broski, on the, number 7, work conditions. Oh, I'm sorry, not number 7, number 6, retirement benefits. I just want to be sure that the last sentence is not indicating that we're paying anything additional than we're paying for anyone else.
Correct.
No, it's just
Okay.
Something additional.
no. So all that is, I believe, is just saying that he has availability to purchase the way everybody else does.
Right, he's treated just like every other employee.
But it's a good question. I was just-
Let me ask you something. What if he decides he wants to go to a conference every month?
I
I
mean,
mean,
I'll
it
look
says
at
to
it.
agree to pay for registration fees necessary to attend select conferences and seminars concerning educational law. What if he decides he wants to go to a conference every month?
So I would say that's the board's decision whether or not you approve his leave
Yeah, we
and
think
his
he would
ability
need
and
to submit
finances.
those.
Yeah, to you.
Is he gonna submit them to us?
I would say that even if he works for the board, he has to.
I don't
If that,
believe
you
that
know,
was in the contract though.
It's not written in the
It's not
contract that he
written
has
in
to
there.
submit it, so it
He
wouldn't
could,
be
he could take
required.
off one week a month and go somewhere on a legal conference, and I'm sure there'd be one to go to.
I would say that
I mean,
in
we just,
practice,
the
the
guy
might
just,
wanna
it
do
seemed
professional
weird.
development.
Well, since
He
we're going,
pays for it, he owns
since
it.
we're going to edit that paragraph
paying
with
for it.
what we're
Yeah.
gonna pay for,
He
can we
can't
have
go
in
out
there
himself.
with prior
But,
board approval?
We just put with prior
It's
board
already
That's
signed
approval.
the
this.
question.
I said,
Yeah.
if we're going to edit paragraph 8, and I understand he signed it, but we haven't. So,
So we're going to.
if we're gonna edit paragraph 8 with what we're gonna pay, the organizations we're gonna pay
With board approval.
for,
Right.
especially if he has more money, he can pay for these organizations, then I would say, instead of to the extent necessary, maybe add in there with prior board approval.
Let's say we attend professional development with board approval.
Well, it says to the extent necessary and with prior board approval.
To the extent
Professional.
necessary, professional leave shall be granted following board approval to allow Mr. Tagata.
So
Mr.
are we-
Broski, do you have a list of what we've approved in the past or what we've
Yeah,
paid for in the
I'm-
past?
If I can get a hold
I'm
of
gonna ask for that.
Victor's contract.
So we need to
Send
remove
that to-
Educational Law Association, Clay Bar Association, Federal Bar Association, and the Chisholm
Unless we
Hotel
paid for those in
in
the
the
past.
court.
Dave, should we pay for the Clay Bar, the Florida Bar, and
I'm
all
gonna
that
go back
stuff?
and research Mr.
I mean,
Victor's
I, it
contract.
just
So,
seems
that's
like
so,
what
that.
I-
so what I'll
it looks
do,
like
I'll give
it's a
you
big-
historical, I'll give you a
Think about
historical
it, even if
perspective
we
of what
did.
we've done, what we've done in the past, and the three, I mean, and what we asked, and I'll put it side by side, and you can make the determination of what you wanna do.
But think about it though, even if we did pay for that in the past, we were more flush with funds to begin with, but we had an experienced school board attorney who was, trained in handling things. This is a more inexperienced attorney who's not, not experienced in school board law. I just don't think we should be paying for all of these things, and quite frankly, going to all of this stuff, he needs to be here doing in-house handling what needs to be done here, so I don't think we should be having all these associations in here, whether we paid for them in the past or not.
Well, it depends on, let's look and see what we've done in the past, and, we wanna be fair about it. My biggest concern is I would have started him off at like 130 or something. That, you said he,
No,
what
I
is
think
it,
on
maybe?
125.
So I would say-
125 or 130, but I
And
think
I'll let-
135
I'll let
is a
Mr.
good-
Broski speak to it in the sense, I believe he started out at 150 or 145, so you wanna talk
Yeah,
about the process?
we started off at 120, he started off at 150.
Yeah, I mean, it
Well,
was,
that's how you do the dance. to
And obviously, we
negotiate
did the
something.
dance down to that. His argument was, through multiple emails and discussions, his argument was that he did have some school experience when he worked for general counsel in Duval County and did school work there. He believed that his experience was worth that amount. Every email that I had was, it's really decided by the school board, even
That's
if we
exactly
agree
right.
and he has a signed contract. I just thought it was more prudent to have something signed by him, because then as the board would know, have a guarantee that he would accept those terms. So what I'm hearing from the board now is you'd like for me to research what items we paid for in the past
Yeah,
as
I
far
got
as
that.
professional development. You'd like for me to add the sentence with prior board approval to number 8 for that. So what I'll do is I'll rewrite this. I'll make contact with Mr. D'Agata and obtain a signature, so this way we know going into the board meeting that if you approve, he's already approved, and that's more prudent. As far as salary goes, that's up to this group and what you'd like to do. I will tell you that there was no shortage of effort to attempt to get the lowest amount possible. I CC'd the superintendent on
every
every
time.
communication. So, I mean, it's really up to you guys, whatever you want me to do, I'll do whatever you want me to do.
I don't want him unhappy, but if he's making, what did you say, 129 now? I mean, come on.
And then he's gonna come in here and have us paying all of his association.
I really
dues.
think 130 is a good number to settle on, and I understand your argument as well. But I think that, you know, I understand it's $1,000, but it's $1,000 more than he's making now. But it's not a huge stretch for us from where we have been to where we are, and I just think that would be the right thing for him to take. It's, you know, it's taxpayer funds. Considering, you know, we know.
I think that what he did, by the way, his strategy was, he looked up, and of course, Mr. Bickner had many years of experience, but he looked at that and saw that he was at the very
That was after 14 years.
Right, 14 years.
14
He
is
looked at
what-
that and then looked at his experience and kind of,
But the other thing that I would ask him to consider is the financial position that we have been in over the past 5 years, and that we're coming out of that, and to be, we're already gonna do the secretary, so it's kind of a, I feel like there's a stretch there already.
I agree.
I have a concern.
Although I
with
would
not
prefer
having
the
a secretary
125
with
number.
No legal experience, but there's nothing we do about it. I don't get it. I can't afford it. But, I mean,
It's not a paralegal, though, it's just a secretary.
I know, that's what, I'm concerned about that. I mean,
To be honest, Mr. Stutter, that should probably be in the contract so that your attorney, when he does get here, doesn't put that expectation on the secretary that she'll prepare briefs, that she'll prepare motions.
so that's what I'm thinking. Who's gonna do those briefs and
Oh, he
stuff?
should be able, an
Is
attorney
he
can
gonna
do
do
that.
them?
They should be able to do that on their own.
Well, in
Most
the
attorneys
interview
do.
process.
Two of the other candidates in the interview
Yeah.
said they didn't need
Didn't need
secretaries, that they would do it
They would
themselves.
do it, but we didn't hear that
And-
from Mr. Daggett, did we?
No, he said that he would like some secretarial support. He did not say that he needed
He
paralegal
did say
support.
paralegal.
And we would have to approve a job description for that position anyway.
If that changed.
And an allocation, because at this time, we don't have an allocation for a paralegal or.
Well, he
legal
said he's
secretary.
just gonna transfer
Right,
someone
right.
from
I'm
somewhere.
looking for that.
At that
Right.
point, if you can find someone to transfer, then we can approve a job description. And
So are we all in agreement that we would prefer to see the salary set at 130?
130 sounds
Ms.
good.
Studdard and Ms. Condon both said? Ms. Gilhusky,
so
okay?
just,
All right.
just to make sure I got the right marching orders and heard correctly, 130 is the salary. You want a sentence added or the clause added with prior board approval in reference to professional development expenses. You'd like for me to research what we've paid in the past for those items. Do you have the authority to go ahead and remove the ones that are additional ones, or how would you like for me to do that?
I would like you to email us and let us know what was in the past and what the difference is, just so that we're all aware of it.
I'll send it in the board workshop follow-up.
But again, Just because we did it in the past, you know, years ago,
Sure.
That's your
doesn't
decision.
mean
You just-
we
your
have to
decision
do
once
it
you see
now.
it.
You just have to give me direction
Right.
to what to
That's
do.
a greater financial.
It is.
I think Ms. Leguccio had just looked up on her, it's amazing what you can do on phones nowadays. What did we pay last year?
We paid about, the prior attorney, we paid about 6,500 in, subscriptions and those types of.
Various fees, we got
Which
to,
Westlaw is like 5,000.
Right.
Westlaw
we
is
got to
a
look
lot,
up what
right?
was
And what else did we
included.
pay besides Westlaw?
I know
Florida
he,
Bar.
It was, let's see, and this was one of the many reports we've done. The Bar Association fee was about 1,300.
The Florida Bar?
The subscription to legal publication was about 5,300. I don't have the details of everything, it just says
That's it.
legal publications that we can find.
Just about, I'll give you the breakdown, sorry. The bar fee is not 1,300, the bar fee is about 400, and the Florida Association of District School Attorneys is 900, I believe.
I just have.
That's,
attorney
the
bar
bar.
that's where,
association.
those are the two I believe that were paid for
900
by the previous
So,
attorney.
okay.
And so what else was included?
Do you know any of the other fees?
I don't, the federal bar, I believe, is more like $1,000, I'm not a member of that bar, so I'm not sure.
So,
So 6,600 is what we paid in the past for Westlaw, the Florida Bar, and the association.
what is
of-
Education Law Association? I'm not familiar with that. I've never heard of that. Education Law Association, what is that? That's listed here too.
So I'll email back out to the board what we paid the past cost.
Just the procedural.
And what is
process.
and Federal Bar Association?
I'll get Mike, actually, I'll have,
That's
what I'll do, Ms. Studdard, I'll have every one of these, I'll get a rationale and cost, and I'll work through Mr. Broski and Mr. Carrick's for this.
Mr. Superintendent, just a procedural point, if the board doesn't give direction now, it would be illegal for them to come to a consensus, email back and forth what should be paid for, because that would be decision making. So that would not be able to be conducted until the next board meeting, which would mean the contract would not be finalized on our end until the board meeting.
I would prefer that we
Commit what we've done,
commit to what we had done.
and then,
Okay.
okay. All right.
That's my
then we're good.
preference.
I'll still do the analysis of
Go
everything
ahead
else, so you'll have it.
and exactly what we've done in the past.
That's
Okay.
because
That's
he
not
had
fair.
argued,
Or-
cases in the federal
School
court.
board, plus Westlaw.
That's where the 1,300.
All right, so Westlaw,
Florida bar.
Florida Bar, Florida School Board Bar,
No, Florida School Board Association.
Association.
Florida School Board
Attorneys
Attorneys
Association.
the Bar Association, and Westlaw, so those three.
Okay. All right.
And everybody was comfortable with the salary of 130,000. All
We'll
right,
make that
thank you.
reach out today.
Yep.
Let me know what that goes. All right, D6 is a public hearing to approve adoption of the economics with financial literacy textbook. This is, we had a public hearing, so now this is a recommended approval to add financial literacy and to adopt that product. Next one is the same for adoption of career and technical education textbooks. We did the public hearing prior, so these are all the textbooks we work with staff to identify that would be most effective in our classrooms. Right. D8 is revisions for, this is just to approve revisions of the school board policy 406, controlled open enrollment. This is where we're approving the policy and also approving the plan as well for our district.
Okay,
Okay?
very good.
That is it.
One question before we adjourn. We were gonna check with the lobbyist about appointments for Tallahassee this week. Just Conan is full and I will be attending. Mrs. Studdard's schedule has changed.
I will be in the afternoon.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. So I have a projected schedule now that has some holes in it, but it does have meetings. I was waiting for him to update it today. I can send it to y'all, everyone today, this afternoon, to let you see if you can attend, and you can switch around what any recommendations you may have, but it's a day that starts at. I know, right? It's a 10. I think it's a 10 a.m. start, and I think meetings already at 4:30, somewhere around there, for who can attend.
Oh, so he did more than just our legislative delegation.
Yeah, so we asked for education committee.
Committee.
Anybody that's that
Which is
can.
normally what we do, because
I
we
usually
see our
don't listen
delegation
to those.
anytime in
Yeah.
here. So we won't sit in on committee meetings, but we'll go visit the members of the committees and bring our,
Are we gonna have an advocacy paper? that we can take?
Yeah, well, I guess print up copies of our legislative priorities.
Yeah.
And we'll hand that out and just say what's important to Clay County. You get all of 5 minutes at the most if you're
Right,
lucky.
but we
I
can
only
leave
have one.
something.
Mr. Davis,
Yes, ma'am.
something came up the other day and someone asked me for my business card.
Yes, ma'am.
We have changed our email address
Okay.
and so forth, and I doubt that there's a board member
Sure.
who has a business card that's
Oh my
up
God,
to
I
date.
still have the old K-12
Could we
July.
please get some business
Yes, ma'am.
cards?
Yes,
thought you
ma'am. We'll
had
get business
already-
cards for everybody.
Don't y'all need business cards? I mean, they've got this incorrect email, incorrect everything on
You
it.
end up scratching, scratching, scratching.
Well, I mean, we don't even have a business card. If you go over there and just wanna hand someone a card,
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
bring my own, because I didn't have them.
well,
Um,
I'm requesting that
But
the school board
I know
members get
that
business
Ms.
And I
cards.
have a tracking number for the
You-
birds.
You,
Okay.
Mr. Davis will take care of it.
Yep, I got it. And
Anything else?
I will bring, so I will bring a recommendation for potential rebranding to every board member. I know that we've had the current logo since 1992. I think that now is the perfect timing with open enrollment to start looking at how we market ourselves, and it could be an opportunity for us to, not to disrespect anything that we've done in the past, but for us to potentially look at it in front of the board. I know there's a lot of history, and we appreciate that history. We've taken some of that history, embedded into some prototypes, and I just asked the board just to look at it. That's all I've asked at this point.
Well, maybe we should hold off on business
They
cards.
started setting up the business cards if we're gonna rebrand. Then we just have to
So
do
I
more.
have two things there
I'll
that
just
I've
keep
heard from
crossing out.
citizens.
Okay,
One is that, in God we trust
okay.
on our logo.
Mhm.
Our county pretty overwhelmingly wants that to stay.
Oh, yeah, I'm not touching
And
that.
then secondly, I had a parent bring me, and I did not bring a copy of it with me today, and I didn't bring it up at the last board meeting
Sure.
because it was so long.
Mhm.
But I had a parent bring me an ESE letter that they got, that instead of, our regular Clay District Schools, which is our legal, legal
Sure.
name at the
Yeah.
top, it said Clay County Public Schools.
Yeah, we've been addressing that
I think our
since
legal
day
name is
one.
School District of Clay
It
County.
is.
But we,
So,
but we
actually, today I
say
even went in
Clay
and
County
said,
District
everything
Schools.
needs to say, so we've been working to catch
Okay.
that. So it's gonna
Because
stay
that-
Clay
this
County
parent was
District
like,
Schools.
I don't want my kid in Duval schools, this is what
Yeah.
Duval's called, and I
Yeah.
was like, calm down,
It's actually
I've
what-
never seen anything like that, I don't know where this
And-
came from, and it was not in color,
Yeah,
it was a,
sure.
you know.
He's getting used to it. I mean, he's used to saying,
Hey,
Duval County
I
Public Schools,
defended it.
give him a
Well, I
little
mean,
time to ease
I
into
mean,
it.
I'm
I
not,
defended
A,
it, but
I'm
he
not,
was met with angst.
yeah, A, I'm not touching that. B, we are a public school system though, so,
Didn't we
but,
have like a legal issue just maybe 6 months ago where we had to start going by the school board of Clay
It's
County?
actually-
School
It
District
was
of Clay
the
County.
school district of Clay County.
Was
But
it the school-
Statute
school
says,
board?
the
Oh.
actual statute says that the school
in statute.
district will be known as the whatever board, or the school
School board
board
of
of whatever
something.
county.
Right.
But I don't know that
And
that's,
it came before us about a year ago. Yeah, that, but that's
So
come
we had
before,
to
just
change
about
our
3 years ago.
letterhead or something, wasn't it?
No, all legal contracts have to
Legal
have that on it,
contracts.
so
You have to
our
get
letterhead
legal
can
name,
still say
whatever
Clay
it
County
is.
School District, or, but all legal
So it won't
contracts,
affect
That's
marketing,
good.
no,
just legal
no.
contracts.
It
I
would,
actually researched it, CCPS, but that's taken, Collier County has, Collier County Public
That's
Schools.
fine. They call themselves
I
Collier
think,
County
I
Public
think that's
Schools.
it.
anything, anybody wanna add before we adjourn?
I don't know if you want to adjourn and discuss it or discuss it before we adjourn.
What?
What I brought up, or,
If we're discussing it, we need to be in the sunshine.
that's true, there we go. A master board. I don't know if we're interested in doing master board at all, or if we
Can-
want to pursue that.
I would like to. Can I ask, is September a time that we can look at?
They had one for September. I
If
wanna
it's still
say,
open.
it's like the
Yes,
21st
Where?
sometime. Howie in the Hills, which is kind of like Orlando area.
That is
Go see
Orlando.
Diane,
Is that-
that's where she lives.
Yeah.
Howie in the Hills.
Howie in the Hills.
Never really had a place like that.
Yeah, I didn't
Howie in the
either.
Hills isn't, it's,
I'm open to going.
It's like
Isn't that
Orlando.
where Legoland is?
no.
It's,
No.
it's,
No. Howie in
It's
the
only a
Hills
little over
is,
2 hours
is over
from
by
here.
Eustis, it's by
Eustis.
Eustis.
Berries.
And
I wanna say it was 13, 14, 15, but I'm not
What days of the
certain.
week is that?
I think it's a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but I'll look it
Yeah.
up and see. It's
And
on
the
their
re-
website.
the only reason I asked that because we're gonna be grinding to get ready for 17, 18.
Okay.
But I mean, I think it's a beautiful time for us where we can let our hair down a little bit, and I'm ready to
I
go.
think it would be helpful.
I agree with you.
As a board. The second question is, at the last board meeting, we had asked you to send a letter to Synovia, and was the
That's a good
letter
question.
sent?
So the letter has not been sent. The letter's going out today. I was just waiting to see if there's any additional discussion.
Well, I have to be careful now because since we did get a letter to them indicating the possible litigation, we can't discuss this
Right.
anymore. So,
Can we,
The correct response is that it should not be discussed in public anymore. You need to call an attorney-client session to get your legal counsel to advise you because you're posturing for an adversarial relationship with this
Okay.
company.
and we should wait till our new legal counsel is on board.
before we
Mr.
sign
Stein's
that
gonna be
letter?
here today.
No.
No, the letter, we've instructed the superintendent to send it. That has to be received
By
by
30th.
March 30th for them.
That will be done.
We're waiting for the first June.
What was that
defense.
email that we got?
That was a letter I sent from Synovia. Synovia sent it to me and sent 5 copies for everyone, hard copies.
What was it that,
It was sent in.
what's his name?
They were disputing the.
Sites refused to send a letter.
Oh, that was,
What was
that?
that'd be
was
an
the
email.
follow-up
That
to
was
this
just an
letter.
email
That was a
took
follow,
us
but
in.
they were attached. They were both attached.
So.
So we have a letter that certifies there are no funds available, that's the letter we're talking about?
So I'm gonna send a letter,
Yes.
and I'm sorry, legal's not here, and I know that he worked for me. So
No.
I'm asking you right now, the letter I wrote, can I have that conversation? Because all it says is about rescinding.
Right, you can.
Yeah.
Let's
So,
not go with anything
at the end of the
further.
day, I wrote my letter's gonna say that the school board, the Clay County School Board had rescinded funds, and I no longer have allegations to continue this contract. I'm gonna sign that letter and send. So without
That's a
funds,
truthful letter.
it's true.
Yeah, this is
And I'm gonna
true.
send that.
All right. Any further?
Fair is, I believe it starts the 30th, and will go
Yes.
to April 7th or 8th. Please feel, we'll have our booth, we'll have individuals rocking and rolling, and, and we will not,
What day's fair day?
Fair Day is going to be the 6th.
What day's fair day?
7th, July 7th. I will say this,
I told you we were gonna quiz
We
you.
gotta have fair day.
we will not have, district staff will man the booths during the school day, because I want principals in schools. So I know last year they were manning booths, so they will be in schools, so I want to let you know that, so if anybody said anything, they're working with kids, and that's what they should be, working with kids. We will man it during the school day, and then, if we have additional times where they want to come and support, they can, but they haven't been asked to do so.
Where Pavilion 1 in the back left corner.
Always.
Did we put anything big there this year?
I
You
don't
know, in
know.
the past, we've had like,
We got
didn't we
fans
have, we
last
had
year.
the simulator one year from Oakley, and one year we had
CTE is gonna
TV
teach.
production,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think they have a couple
I
things.
actually think last year was the first year they were doing fair in a long time.
Oh, no,
Oh,
they're there
they're-
every year.
they're-
They're
No,
every
no,
year.
no, CTE. Last year, Sharice had somebody cancel. Mr. Stewart was able to get us another booth to expand.
Yeah, well, I think CTE will be ready,
We'll have CTE and STEM and then I think
STEM, and then we'll have
the
a
district.
district booth. We'll be ready,
Another thing for the foundation.
okay?
I don't know if you've received the invitations to a dinner that they're going to be having at the Marriott
No.
here in town for all of the grant recipients. And that will be April 13th, a Thursday evening at 6 p.m. That was just decided at the last foundation meeting, and I know that invitations will be going out.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
That's what?
Monday, Thursday, yeah.
My church's got a big dinner that night.
I thought April 8th was,
No,
She said April 13th.
April
This is Monday,
April
Thursday.
16th is Easter.
oh, that was awful week.
It is, and it's the
You could do a turkey and
So-
ham.
But that is,
that was the day that the Marriott could donate their facility, so. that
And is there a
it's
cost?
6
I didn't hear. Was there a cost for the dinner?
No. No, it's all being covered by
Very nice.
people involved with the foundation,
All right.
volunteers, and donations.
All right. I will adjourn the March 27th workshop agenda. School meeting. We're done.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.